All right, guys, we're back again for another week's episode of Brushing Back with Colby White. Got Colby still in Foxworth with us. Looks like that's where he's going to ride out for a while. Quick announcement. He and I will be in the same place at the same time next Sunday inside the studio. And we will have Brian Snowman in the morning, the guy we were going to have last week with the technical issues. We're going to have him next week now that we've got everything straight. Colby, how you doing this afternoon, my man?
Man, I'm doing great. Weather's getting cool out here. Feels good. I'm glad to be home still. So,
all right. So the guest today is Preston Johnson. He is a Crystal Springs native. He was a JUCO guy. First of all, he was a private school academy guy in Copiah County, Mississippi. Then he went to JUCO. Then he went to Mississippi State. Then he ends up in the Baltimore Orioles organization. He's going to be on in just a minute with us. But before we get started with him, I've got to get the quick reaction from Colby White, one of the former superstars at Mississippi State University, about the John Cohen AD announcement that was made. He'll be leaving Mississippi State and going to Auburn University. Colby, you had a chance to be around Cohen. So what do you think? Is that a good, bad, or indifferent? How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, obviously Cohen, he's a winner. You know, former coach, former player. He's won. He knows how to win. At the end of the day, you know, money talks. You know, so obviously they threw some money at him, and he ended up leaving. And he obviously left Mississippi State a good situation. You know, at the end of the day, it's Mississippi State, and you know they're going to figure out who to put in that position, and he will make whoever they put in there. I got full confidence that there'll be good hires, there'll be good decisions made, even if there's no changes. You know, going forward, hopefully we don't keep losing athletic directors and coaches, and you know, I know that's part of it. And so if there's any booster with a lot of money and they want to give money away, give it to Mississippi State, and we'll pay some coaches and keep them and ADs, and because that's the nature of it. And congrats to him. You know, that speaks volumes of who he is as an athletic director. You know, you got other schools reaching out, wanting you to come lead their program, especially one to the caliber Auburn has been and can be and will be. Hopefully still below us a little bit, you know, in rankings and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a scary thing because you don't know who could come in, but at the end of the day, it's Mississippi State. You know, they're going to figure it out.
Well, I hadn't had an opportunity to kind of get on Twitter or anything, check out some of the pundits that know a little more than we do about the situation. It's a money situation. I know he had to have gotten exponentially more money to go to Auburn. Auburn's in a situation right now, especially in the sports arena, that really right now basketball is all they got going. Their football team is off the rails at this point. Their men's basketball is really good. Their baseball team, you know, I had high expectations for their baseball team last year, and they did well, but they probably could have done a lot better. That's a matter of fact, that's an old Mississippi State guy leading them, Butch Thompson. I can be a little bit more critical about Cohen than you can because you were a former player for him. You have deep ties to the university, and you know, while Cohen was there, you were an athlete, participated in the athletics. But I personally, nothing against John Cohen as a human being. I think he's a fantastic guy. But I'm glad to see that if he's going to go, he goes ahead and goes now. We get this change in place. You and I were kind of talking about this a little earlier in the afternoon. I truly only feel like in 7 years he's made two good hires. You know, it was an absolute disaster. The women's basketball coach that he brought in, you know, she had credentials and she should have been fantastic, but she wasn't. She was not good at all. I think we're going to see. I think he rectified that issue with the hire that he made to replace her. I think he's going to be fantastic. I also said the only two good hires I thought he made was Lamonis and also the young lady they brought in to do the softball. You know, she's an absolute legend in the sport. She has turned that program around. Mississippi State softball is spoken of highly now. And like we talked about months ago, I truly believe the reason that he was so good with those two hires is because that's something that's close to his heart. Baseball has always been close to his heart. He wanted to prove that he could get somebody in to win that national championship. He was a little selfish. I think he wanted that first national championship to be a baseball championship because they had been so close so many times. And like I said, I'm excited to see the direction the university's headed. I hope they don't drop the ball, with this new AD hire. And one thing I didn't even think about, it's going to be weird. This upcoming weekend, John Cohen is going to be still on campus, but he's going to be in the visiting AD box at the football game. That's going to be really strange. So,
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing I'm thinking about is obviously there's so many variables that go into an athletic director being able to run things and do things or get things done how they had envisioned them and hoped they would be. But he's going to have a whole lot bigger pocketbook to be writing out checks for football coaches and baseball coaches. And he may go over there. I assume he's going to make some changes on the football side, but I wouldn't think he would have to from the baseball end of it. Because Butch Thompson, heck, he's went to Omaha, and it might even be easier on Butch to be able to say, "Hey, man, we got this much more money. We can get you this assistant coach, this one here, this one," and hopefully none of our guys get poached. So that'd be
right.
kind of a thing to be worried about. But
Well, like I said, while we're waiting on Preston, I wanted to get your quick reaction. I knew you were going to have a really good opinion about it because you were part of the programs. Now, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to bring in Preston Johnson at this time. There the man is, the man of the hour, Preston Johnson. Preston, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Fantastic. We're excited to have you on here today. We don't want to overload you with a bunch of questions and stuff, but we want to hear about the journey you've been over in the last few months. We were just hyping you up about small town guy, came from Copiah Academy. If you put every living soul in Copiah County, Mississippi, in one area, one room, let's say, it still wouldn't be anywhere close to where Baltimore, Maryland would be sitting. And I know being drafted by Baltimore, that had to have been the unreal experience that you knew it would be one day.
Oh yeah, sure. It was definitely a dream come true. Like Colby can probably tell you, it was a long process and something we dreamed about as we're growing up playing baseball. And you never really think that it's going to be a reality until it just becomes one, and you're just kind of like, what am I doing here? But it's a blessing from the Lord, and I just gotta live every day like it's my last. So.
Exactly, man. Speaking on kind of your journey, coming out of high school, obviously went to Hines. How did that process come about? Were you a high recruited junior college guy? Did you have some D1 offers and just decided junior college would be better? Kind of put it in perspective for kids listening to this that might would think, okay, you got to have this way to get into the big leagues or get into pro ball or Mississippi State or whatever. Kind of what was your story on that?
Yeah, so I started out, I was actually a catcher all through high school as a 9th and 10th grade year, but tore my knee up my 9th grade year, had surgery. The surgery didn't take, so I had surgery again my 10th grade year, and the doctor pretty much told me that I wouldn't be a catcher anymore. So I, picked up pitching, so it kind of worked out a little bit. But coming out of high school, I didn't receive a single D1 offer, so it was kind of disheartening. Just kind of I talked to Mississippi State a little bit. I never threw hard enough. My stuff wasn't as sharp as they'd like it, and just I wasn't ready to go to D1, which was a tough thing to swallow. As a kid coming out of high school, which you always want to go D1. That's the dream. That's the standard. That we all try to reach. So I didn't get any D1 offers. I got offered by all the JUCOs in Mississippi, and went to all the showcases, and went all over the state. Talking to coaches and players from different schools, and trying to figure out where my fit was and where I wanted to go to JUCO. Now that I have a few offers on the table, and a few opportunities to go play ball and continue my career. And it's kind of the Lord. After a lot of praying and searching, and just talking and investigating, I landed on Hines, and with Sam Temple over there, and we got to go over there and meet him and all the guys, and I knew a lot of guys that had gone to Hines, and and even gone past Hines to D1 schools and the D2 schools, and continued their careers after Hines. It was really promising. I don't know. Did you ever meet Temple, Colby?
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Every time we played Hines, it was a competitive series. Two games. If you could leave Hines, if you went to Hines and played and you won one game, you done a whole lot. So
that's what he was a tough man, dude. He was, that's one thing that I was, grateful for at Hines is, he's one of the main, I guess, instruments that the Lord has used in my life, to really make me grow up as a man, but also as a baseball player. And that's what he really emphasizes, us growing, in our faith, one, but also on the field and off the field as a man, and just having that character and that competitiveness, like you were talking about. It's something he definitely demanded of all of his players. So.
Yeah, I get to thinking about a lot, like all the stuff he does, just not only for his guys, but like, with the what is it, Team USA, the JUCO Team USA. He helped coach. I think a few years. I know that it was my sophomore year he helped coach it, and I saw a lot of guys, and then like the what is it, the state? What is it? It ain't state games. It's something else. But a bunch of D1s come in and watch the JUCO arms, and he does a ton for a lot of. He's a really good guy. He does a ton for so many. So that's awesome that you got to play for him, and I enjoy playing against him. So
he was a tough man to play for. At first, especially being a 17, 18-year-old kid, having that responsibility and that pressure and that strictness on you, kind of jump into it, and you're like, dang, is this really what I want to do? But I think everybody that leaves there, is thankful that they got that opportunity and they stuck with it, and he's changed a lot of lives right there at Hines Community College.
And what's funny to me, like a common theme, but behind like junior college coaches or Coach Avalon and then Coach Temple, like you just said a minute ago, is this really what I want to do? I remember being at Pearl River both semesters in the fall, both years I was there, and was sitting there thinking, man, I don't know if I'm tough enough to do this crap. I mean, it was 30-something degrees outside, and we're running time miles and pushing a 2.5-ton truck with shorts on, and and you're sitting there thinking, man, if we can do all this stuff, I know y'all probably done that at Hines, like a little road to Omaha or Eden or whatever. It's like, if you can do all this stuff, you can go out there and pitch. It don't matter what situation.
The games were easy, man. And it made you think. I was kind of scared going to state. I'll be completely honest and transparent. I was scared to death, just because. You're at Hines, and like you said, JUCO is a whole different world. I mean, we worked hard, and there wasn't a day off, and we had something to do every day, whether, like you said, it was cold, rain, snow, sleet, anything. So I was like, if JUCO's like this, then I don't know if I'm ready for D1, but it was a good transition.
Yeah, I mean, how hard of a jump? Like, if you were to compare your jump from high school to junior college, as far as the level of competition, and then junior college to Mississippi State, and then Mississippi State even into your first season of pro ball, what would you rate all those? Like, okay, this was the hardest, because obviously you got to get better at every one of those levels. Which one do you think was the most difficult?
I think I would say the most difficult transition was actually this past year, going from being a reliever at state to being a starter. Just having that focus, because JUCO, you always have, 2 or 3, maybe 4 good guys in the lineup that are, these guys are the real deal. So you got to stay focused on them. And it's just kind of when you get to a D1 level like Mississippi State, it's just kind of like the whole lineup is like that. So you just got to stay focused and, just grind through the lineup. You can't take any batters off. But really going from a reliever to a starter, after my junior year at state was probably the hardest for me, just because coming in for an inning or two, maybe three on a good day as a reliever, then you got to turn around and they're wanting you to go seven, and it just you got to stay focused. Which I can't really speak on the transition from college to professional, because I threw, I popped my elbow on my first batter up there.
Really?
So I didn't really get much experience
Yeah.
in the professional world, but it's been fun, just getting to meet all the guys, and it's definitely a more relaxed workplace in the professional world. Just you get to do what you want, what your career is best for you, and it's been nice not having school and just getting to focus on baseball.
Yeah. Well, speaking on your injury, do you have any clue, what might have, do you think over time, is this your first Tommy John?
Yeah, that's my first one. First
You got any clue what it might have been?
I really don't. I mean, it was one of those things. My arm was feeling great. The whole time I was with the Orioles, training, the whole plan was for us to all throw one inning at the spring training facility and then go up to the affiliate and finish the season in low A or high A, just depending on how you progressed when you got there and how much your arm was in shape. So my first inning, I just popped it. I was feeling good that day. I just threw a slider and something didn't feel right. And it was kind of like, I'm sure it's just kind of like something's wrong.
Yeah. That's crazy. Would it be cool though? See, I guess I'm around the 7-month mark, 8-month mark. And I'm sure I guess you're back home now, but prior, I guess you've been rehabbing up there. But it's crazy to get back in tune with the little things in your body. Like everything just kind of slows down. You're like, hey, I'm hurting here, or I'm sore here, or I'm tight here. And it's like, you go through the course of the season, you can't focus on those little things because you're going here, you're going there, you're playing all different places, and it's nonstop, go, go, go. Now when you slow down, it's like, hey, I need to work on this. This is why this is hurting or whatever. At least for me, you might have a different thing. It might have just been, heck, you go from a reliever and then you starting and throwing significantly more pitches. It just could be a workload thing, so.
I don't know what caused it. The guy that did my surgery, he said there was a lot of scarring that had been happening the previous years. So it's just one of those things, I guess, as you're a pitcher, one of those things that just happens over time, like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to bring a little shine on Preston for just a second. I met Preston it's almost 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now that you've got your pro season in. Two things I can say about Preston. Preston is one of the most faith-filled individuals I've ever met. And two, he handles adversity better than any young person that I've run into in a long time. So I'm pretty sure this injury it's going to be one of those bumps in the road. But Preston was a guy that, like he said, he was a JUCO guy that came to Mississippi State, and he just admitted for all the listeners to hear, all the viewers to see, that he was terrified when he got to Mississippi State. Well, I sure couldn't tell it because when he came out of the bullpen, he was an absolute dog. And then he and I talked near the end of that first season and the beginning of the second season. You were supposed to be a Sunday guy. Like they were going to try to work you into starting rotation as a Sunday guy. You went from a Sunday guy to a Friday guy in about 3 weeks' time, didn't you?
It was definitely a transition.
Because it was weird. I remember watching you pitch on a Sunday, and it seemed like less than 2 weeks later. I won't say the next time y'all came home, you were like pitching on Friday. I'm like, what is going on here? I knew they were losing arms, but you were the guy that kind of held the whole pitching staff together for a long period of time.
I appreciate that. It was definitely a year like everybody in the Mississippi State family knows. Whether we lost people or just couldn't put it together, but it was still an experience and a fun time. It's hard not to have fun when you're playing at Duty Noble.
Exactly. Well, and to add to that, man, you got a ring that nobody else that's ever played there has, and that'll never be taken away. So,
Hey, the next time you see Clark or Palmero, you gonna like stick it up in their face and show it to them. You going?
Yeah, they
no, that's what we'll looks like. You might not better do that.
But thinking as a player and as a pitcher, as good as that year was, when you start looking at it from a fan's point of view, they always have that standard again. And sometimes, as well as anybody playing the game as long as you have, sometimes just baseball don't fall your way. Things don't go your way. Adversity hits. People start getting hurt. You lose guys get drafted. The players that came in just hadn't figured it out yet, and it takes time, whatever it may be. And, and that's what's cool about baseball. You get so many games to try to figure it out, and then you got the next year. So, but.
Hey, I got a quick question. I hate to keep harping on small town boy because you are. Let me back up. You're 6 foot 3.5 inch, 240-pound grown man, but you're a small town guy though. What was it like for a kid from Crystal Springs? Well, first of all, to get drafted, but when you actually signed your contract, was that where did you do that? Was that in Baltimore? You actually did that?
No, sir. It was the Orioles only took the first round up there to Baltimore.
All right.
Everybody else, we were at Sarasota, Florida, down at the spring training facility.
Okay.
So that's where we got to go and meet all the guys and sign our contracts and get started right away.
Yeah. Pretty crazy, huh? That whole week still a blur. Like you remember bits and pieces of it, right?
So the crazy thing about it was, talking with my family and everything was just kind of like everybody was asking me, when you leaving, because I had the speculation that I was going to get drafted and take it, just because it was my senior year. I had one more year left, but it was kind of the year where you needed to go and just better opportunity. So everybody was asking, when you leaving, when you taking off for Florida or Baltimore, wherever you're going, and I'm like, man, I really don't know. And I got drafted, and the Orioles guy texted me, and he said, can you jump on a call? And I said, yeah. And he called me, and I was like, so when are we leaving? When am I going to report? And he said, we'll get you a plane ticket the next day or two. I said, oh. So it was kind of moving really fast, and I think I left 2 or 3 days after that and went down to Florida, and that was my first time actually on a plane by myself. So it was weird going through the airport and navigating all that by myself. Just kind of
terrified all over again. Huh?
That's right.
Where'd you actually fly out of?
I flew out of Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, that's a scary situation, even if you got somebody with you. So
that's wild.
Somewhere we stay.
So, Preston, Colby doesn't want to tell you this, but your story echoes his story so much. When you were telling your story, it was Colby's story. Except you're like, I don't know, you're 2 or 3 inches taller than him, and you probably outweighed him at that point about 50 pounds, probably. I don't know. We joke about Colby weighing 130 pounds when he started JUCO ball, but he said he weighed more than that because he had rocks in his pocket, so he weighed about 140 when he reported. So.
Well, I just wish I could throw as hard as he can.
So
man,
you
give me that bender. I'll give you some velo if you want it.
I'll make a little tricky.
Hey, I'll take 2 or 3 off of the heater for that bender.
Preston, we love to ask the guests that come on. Were you a 2-sport guy? Did you play multiple sports?
I did. I played baseball and football all the way through high school, and I quit basketball after my 9th grade year because of my knee. Unfortunately, basketball was actually probably my favorite sport to play, just because it was. I loved it. So it was kind of hard to give that up. It was one of those things where I played it, knowing that I wasn't going to be, going to college for it or anything. But it was fun to play with my friends, and I kind of used it as a staying in shape tool for baseball. So it was something to keep me in shape during the winter before baseball got kicked up.
You enjoyed abusing them guys in the low post. I know what you did.
That's right.
Man, this is a different topic, I guess, but you went to Copiah Academy, correct? So, you obviously Hunter Renfro went there. You always was he a guy that always came back around? Do you kind of know him personally, or is it kind of just a guy there? And how did that impact you wanting to go to Mississippi State, or did it have any impact?
So where I live now and where Hunter grew up is about a mile and a half from each other. And yeah, like you said, he came along around Kapai a lot. So I got to be around him my last 2 years of high school ball. He'd come out there and throw with us and about break your hand, like you could imagine, throwing the ball so hard. So it was fun to get to know him through high school, and that's kind of where I struck up a friendship with him, which we have a pretty good friendship. He's a good dude. Likes to do a lot of the same things as I do, hunting and fishing, and of course playing ball, which he's pretty good at. But he
he's all right.
he's all right.
He's all right.
He played with my pitching coach at Hines at Mississippi State, named Nick Amorati. He caught for State when Renfro was there, so they were good friends. And so it was even when I got to go to Hines, he would come to Hines and practice with us, and be around those guys. So I got to be around him for pretty much 4 straight years, practicing and doing all that before he went to spring training. So it was pretty cool. And like you said, it's small town, and just seeing Hunter, go through that, go through to my dream school, Mississippi State, and have my aspirations of going there and seeing him do it and go through it, even making it to the league, and doing and having the success that he has now, has really shone light on the possibility and just the way that we can do it, and, just having the dream come true, just having him set the standard in front of me and know that it's possible, for a small town kid to, live his dream and, live it out, like you said.
So when did it hit you that, hey, I'm going to be a professional baseball player? Like, hey, I can, that was it you're like the year you got drafted at State, or did you know that in high school, or when did you kind of assume that?
Honestly, it's still unreal to me now, but I think when it finally, clicked with me that it might be a possibility, a shot in the dark was, I think after my freshman year of college at JUCO, Coach Temple came to me and he was like, hey, I got this guy, he's an agent for the MLB, he wants to, meet with you and see what you think about maybe having him as your advisor and do all that. And I said, Coach, what do you mean? I'm in JUCO. And he's like, well, I mean, you have some MLB interest right now. And I'm like, really? Like, I had no idea. So it was kind of there. And even he can tell you that, I still didn't ever think that I would make it. So it was kind of, I guess there that I was kind of like, this may be a possibility. And I need to get my butt in gear and start working hard because, it's kind of fall in place.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, they did mention it pretty frequently while you were pitching in Omaha. Every appearance you made in Omaha, somebody would mention, this kid here has got the potential to make it at the next level. This kid here has got the potential to make it at the next level. So that was what was so weird is when you came back here last year. And selfishly, we talked about this after games last year at State. We were begging you to come back. We wanted you to come back, and you selfishly took an MLB offer. I don't know what you were thinking. So, just saying, I don't know why you didn't come out one more year, Which in the long run, it worked out because you'd have come back, you'd have popped your elbow, you'd have had to sit out the whole season. So there's the Lord working again. So
I'm telling you, there has been a lot of divine intervention in my career, and it's been a journey, like you said. A lot of adversity, a lot of challenges that I've had to go through and over, and it's funny to look back on it now and see how the Lord has worked in my life and in my career to get me where I'm at now, where I started.
Look, I'm just glad Bianco didn't call you with an offer because me and you couldn't have been friends. That's just like Colby. If Colby would have signed with Ole Miss, I'd have never talked to him again.
Hey, I tell you what, this is what's crazy. Duty Noble, I can't imagine how many players it has swayed from Oxford, from Baton Rouge, from Fayetteville, because you start looking around, man, there's not any close to that. Like they're not far from that, but I don't care what anybody says. There's nothing like Duty Noble, and I don't think there ever will be.
I think when people think about Duty Noble, they think about the stadium and the left field lounge and just how many seats it can hold. But man, like playing in it, Duty Noble has nothing to do with the stadium. It's all about the fans, and just the friendships that you make. Like, I'd have never met Mr. William if it wouldn't have been for Duty Noble. And it's just
hey, there you go. I'd have never met Preston Johnson. There you go. I got a question. Y'all was talking about Duty Noble. I want to ask you a question. Your senior year in high school, how many folks are you pitching in front of at Copiah Academy?
150.
Now, come on now, bolster the number now. Make us impressed now. You probably had 1,000, 1,500 people watching you, huh?
I think the biggest crowd we probably had, it was like the second round of playoffs. And Copiah ain't been there in years, and we made it. And so everybody turned out, about the whole town. I think we had like 150 people there. So it was,
come on now. I heard that when Riffro was there, it was like 1,500, 2,000 people were showing up watching the ball games.
Now that was a different story. They were good. They had fireworks.
Well, sir, I don't know if you know it or not, but you're a big a star as he is now. He's MLB. You're MLB. Not quite.
Just a little bit.
All right, so you leave Copiah Academy in front of 100. You pitch in JUCO. What's the largest crowd you think you ever pitched in front of?
On a regular day, we might have like 60 or 65, 70 maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about a big game. Like PRC rolls into town, #1 in the country, and y'all playing them. What we looking at?
I think the biggest game we had at home, of course. I don't remember, looking around at, Jones,
right.
Pearl River.
Right.
I'd probably say maybe 2,000.
Okay.
Something like that. And
so then you step out on the mound at Duty Noble, and you can't breathe because there's so many people there.
Yeah. So it was funny that I actually made my debut at Mississippi State the third week of the season at Trustmark Park because I got quarantined for close contact for Corona. So I didn't get to go to the trip to Texas. And then he did only pitch that weekend at Tulane because he didn't think I was, in shape enough from being in quarantine. So we went to Pearl, and it kind of worked out because I had like all my family there, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. And, like you said, it's just another symbol of how the Lord works in mysterious ways. And, I just kind of got to have my debut in front of all my family, and it gets me kind of choked up, because the one thing that I remember is, looking over at my mom and dad right after the game, and it was cool. It was cool to see them right there and that close to home. So.
Man, it's something I got to thinking about, and I'm sure you probably felt this at home, but I was thinking when I roll out of here, because I remember walking through the tunnel the first game at Mississippi State, and I looked around and I was like, am I really playing here? And I had that moment where I was like, this is the most insane thing ever. You see it on TV and you can't really, and you see it from a fan's point of view. But when everybody's looking at you, it's kind of insane. But I really didn't have a nervous feeling at home. It was more of a so easy feeling because everybody's behind you. It's 14,000 people, and everyone there wants you to do good for the most part. The other team might have a few hundred or whatever, but you're throwing pitches that far off the plate, and everybody's hollering, "Come on, Blue!" Come on. It was like, man, that wasn't even close to being a strike. And then you throw it again, and it's a strike. And it's like, man, this is so easy. Did you ever have a moment like that at home where it was like, man, this is so easy to pitch?
Oh, it was just about every game, unless you were doing, terrible. But like you said, like it was just it was kind of funny because you would throw a pitch and like, crap, I missed it, and then they would let the blue have it, and it's just kind of like, I almost want you to be like, tell him be quiet. You're gonna get me in trouble. You ain't gonna give me no calls. But
Yeah.
it was. I didn't really get nervous. I remember there was only 1 or 2 games that I would get nervous, and it was only walking out. But once I stepped on the mound, it was kind of like everything disappeared, and you just it was just playing ball again. So.
Mm-hmm. Man, I
It
wish
was like
every
standing
kid.
on the mountain high academy. It's like standing now.
A little bit different than that.
Look, don't be disappointed now when you start pitching in front of these minor league crowds. After being at Duty Noble, don't get disappointed. Okay,
It's gonna take me back to JUCO.
You'll be back.
Worse than JUCO. You'll be at games on them backfields, man, and you'll look at the box score at the end of the game, and it'll say today's attendance 0. There'll literally be nobody there. There won't be a single fan. Once you get up into like low A and all that, it's but because like us rehabbing coming back and all, we're gonna have to throw in a backfield in either Sarasota, Port Charlotte, whatever. There'll be nobody there, and you're like, man, how you gonna throw hard with this?
It's gonna be definitely a transition, learning how to get your adrenaline going and getting your body and arm going with nobody there. And, it just kind of happened for you naturally when you're at Duty Noble with 15,000 screaming and grills going, and it's gonna be different.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So Preston, the injury, the surgery, like what's your timeline? What are they telling you?
So right now, like 7.5 weeks in, and I can start throwing or tossing. As Colby would know, it's gonna be slow, but I can start tossing at 6 months, and then start pitching around the 11th month mark. So I don't know when I'll be in games again, but it's gonna be a full year before I'm back to feeling good. And that's what they said. I don't know how my arm's gonna come back, or it's all a waiting process, and see what's gonna happen.
Okay, Colby, let him know how much better your arm feels right now.
Yeah, I mean, man, I had I don't know if you can relate to this. Hopefully so, or maybe even not. It doesn't matter. But I always had a little something like just subtle pain in my elbow, not a ton, but I had it for a few years. And now, after I've had surgery and I feel like I do now, it's such a relief that I know, hey, man, I'm gonna be better than because my arm feels like it did when I was 8, 9 years old again. And before, I didn't realize how hurt my arm actually was. Like, so if you had, and I'd be willing to bet, and I'm sure you went to a really good surgeon, but if you had any kind of little pain in there, you're not, subconsciously thinking, okay, if I move my arm this way, this is going to hurt. Or if I throw this, it's going to hurt. Or I need this many throws to get hot. Like, and that's what's insane to me is, like we did this test. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this or not. I don't know what breach is what, but we was doing tests where they run an ultrasound on her elbow with the rays, and they put a weight on her wrist, and I don't know what they was looking at, but every time they put that weight on my wrist and my arm would lay back, man, I'd be in tears. I was like, God Almighty, that hurts, and everybody else would be, they would say it would hurt some too or whatever, but they done that a little bit after surgery. I guess it was probably 4 or 5 months ago. And I was waiting for it. Like, I was anticipating this is about to hurt. Laid it back, didn't feel a single thing. I was like, man, they fixed my elbow. How insane is it? Something that little, you have a little bitty tear on something that small and it causes that much pain, But
I always had a little bit in the tricep, but it never went down my forearm. It was always, just kind of, in that area here.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it. And they were just like, it's just tricep, and it'd go away, the day after I pitch. So I just never really, paid any attention to it. After a little ice, and you'll be fine. But like you said, my elbow, it still aches, just where it's healing and everything. But I got my full range of motion back, and it feels great. I'm ready to start throwing and see how it really feels. But like you said, the mental side of it is a big key. not having to worry about, I got a little pain. My UCL's been a pop. You hear all the time, people talking, and you're like, hey, Tommy John's calling, and you're just like, kind of makes you feel good that now you're like, it's probably not going to happen again, so you can just go out there and just go rip it, and see what happens.
So did you have the?
What you mean?
Yeah. Did you have the full reconstruction, or did you have a brace? Which doctor did you go to?
So I went to Meister in Texas.
Okay.
The Rangers doctor, and he did. So my ligament was almost completely torn, but he repaired as much as he could, and then they took the palmaris longus out of my elbow, or not elbow, but wrist, and then put it in there, and then did the internal brace too. So I guess you can call it, I got a triple threat in there. Hopefully it won't.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
So I have a buddy who actually, his name's Ian Leatherman. He's from Central Michigan, but he actually went to Meister too, and I guess he had the same exact thing you have, where the graft and the internal brace. I guess that's kind of a newer procedure they just started doing over the past several years. But yeah, man, he's felt great, and because see, I started throwing at 5 months, he started throwing at 6 months, but he was doing a whole lot more movement stuff with plyos before he started throwing. So it's kind of cool to see the variations in the surgery and what, which I didn't even have the palmaris in my wrist. I had to get mine out of my foot, but it's crazy how they can get a tendon from wherever and put it in there. it's an insane thing, but it'd be cool to see the end product of it for sure. So I'm looking forward to February. I'll come off the mound. So I would think in 11 months after your surgery, you should be throwing at least light bullpens, So
they said the 11 to 12 mark would be when I was, full speed, throwing against live batters at least. And they did tell me that, it's a lot of the guys that were with me right now are starting to throw at 5 months. And we asked Dr. Meister, why is mine 6 and there's 5? He's just like, pretty much told us I was new to the league. I wasn't in no rush. I'm not 25, so it's not really a rush to get back. He said, just take it easy and, ease back into it and make sure that it's all, going to be okay.
All right.
Well, Preston, when he gets all healed up, they said Colby's going to have a little extra velo. So maybe you have a little extra velo.
I hope so.
Y'all both be hitting 100 apiece. Yeah, a little hundy.
I need to catch up with him a little bit.
Come on now.
Yeah, but Preston's got a multitude of pitches. See, Colby just says, forget this. I ain't working on no second pitch. I'm going to just throw it by you.
Well, see, this is what was funny when I was at college. Coach Foxall, he was trying to do whatever for me to spin the ball a different way. And then every time I went in the ball game, we just kind of threw that out the window. I was just throwing fastballs. If they started piecing me up, I got out of the ball game, So I can't tell you how many pins he would show me different grips on different stuff, and the ball would end up straight as an arrow. I'm like, I don't know. We'll just figure this out as we go, I guess. I don't know.
I went through that stage. I'm telling you, man, it was after the whole time I was a sophomore and junior in college. It was just trying to find something that, was consistent and different than my curveball. Just they wanted me to have a slider, and it was just, man, it was a battle to find something that you could throw at least good or almost good every time. Just we finally found something, and then I changed it after my junior year, and it's just, I guess you could say it's a work in progress, like you know. So it never stops.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Colby, before we let him get out of here, you got any words of wisdom, since both of you guys are now MLB affiliate players?
I don't know about words of wisdom, but obviously want to thank you for coming on. I know you got a lot going on, man, and you're not home very much. So the time you get home, you get to see family and get to hunt a little bit. And so that means a lot to us for you to come on and keep grinding it out, man. I know good things are ahead for you. Congrats on getting drafted, especially to a good organization to be in as a pitcher, So, but yeah, thank you for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
I sure appreciate y'all having me. And I said, if either one of y'all need anything, don't hesitate to holler at me.
Preston, for our viewers, they want to follow your progress. What's an easy way on social media they can follow you?
Probably Instagram is the best way. I know a lot of people message me on Facebook, and I have no idea how to work Facebook. And I see everybody at church and around at the ball fields or eating in town, and they're like, "I messaged you on Facebook," and I'm like, "I don't even use Facebook." But
Look,
yeah,
for all the viewers and the listeners, don't be offended. He won't even answer a regular text message.
I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible.
So find him on Instagram. What are you on Instagram? What's your Instagram handle?
P.Johnson_8.
He almost forgot his Instagram handle. Did you say he had to think about it? Preston, brother, I can't thank you enough. Like I said, I consider you a close friend. Over the last couple of years, I've got a chance to really get to know you. You're a fantastic young man, and I see great things in your future. So thank you once again for coming on the show.
I sure appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
All right, guys. That's going to be it for today. For our audio listeners, you're going to jump to a couple of commercials. And for our YouTube viewers, next week, live again next Sunday at 5 o'clock, we're going to have Brian Snow, Snowman in the morning. He has connections to both Chicago, Illinois, and North Carolina. So Colby and I will probably get a chance. He wants to talk a lot about baseball. World Series will still be going on, so we'll have plenty to talk to him about. Thanks again, Preston, and we will see you guys next week.